Hello and welcome back, and that's right, today I want to talk about something a wee bit special. Today I want to talk about a pocket travel router. Now this is the GL-MT3000 from GL.iNET. Now that is a lot to squeeze in, but we're going to call it by its real name, which is the Beryl AX. Beryl, what a name. This is a portable travel router, not like your portable hotspots. This doesn't have, and just to get it out of the way early doors, this is not a SIM supported router for a number of you that may have come to this video, because I've reviewed quite a lot of SIM routers over the last few years. This isn't the same as that. This is for those that are, working away from home, away on business, traveling overseas, on holiday, in your local coffee shop, whatever, that want to have your own private network. But you need to have a pre-existing internet network for you to utilize this. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing this device, the lows, the highs, what we like, what we don't, go through the software, and ultimately decide if this is the kind of solution you need in your home or business life. Now, for me personally, I sort of do need this. Ever since the end of the pandemic, we spent a long time not really traveling that much for a long period of time. I've got a lot of catching up to do. Not only personally, with myself and my partner traveling around, but also professionally as well. And I have to use a lot of different Wi-Fi networks when I'm traveling. Now, I have a system of, remote access credentials that I use. I've got a bunch of VPNs that I use, and depending on the level of service I'm utilizing, and within my local system, not just blanket ones via a VPN server. But a lot of the time, a lot of those options are restricted from me. Now, something like this will have a purpose. If I'm working somewhere that has physical network ports around me, this is going to be of use. But moreover, there is the support of tethering on this, something I'll discuss a little bit more later on. But let's open this bad boy up, shall we? Let's have a little look what we get for our money first, because frankly, this is the smallest router I think I've ever reviewed on the channel. Inside, we've got information on that warranty there. It doesn't have the hugest warranty there, but again, it's not a tremendous, surprise. It's a 1-year warranty that's included there. First time setup is very straightforward. It's USB Type-C powered. It does not have an internal power supply. Another thing to bear in mind, it's not battery powered there inside. But again, it's USB-C powered, which means you can connect it directly into your laptop, whatever you're utilizing, to power it on the go. And again, tethering is supported. If we have a look at the device itself, it is absolutely tiny. This is the Wi-Fi 6 router here, so we get these two antennae up. You can support loads of devices all at once, and again, that is it right there. Isn't that the most dinky, cute router you've ever seen? Inside there, you've also got that external USB Type-C mains power adapter, but again, you can go ahead with the standard USB. On top of that, you've got the clips for operating the device, to switch onto there for the UK, Europe, and America there, and you've got an Ethernet cable included as well, and that's a standard Cat5e cable there too. Nothing more in the box. Place that down there. We can talk a little bit more about this device itself. So let's go through what we're seeing here on the outside of this. First and foremost, it's got 2.5 GBE. That's right, this Wi-Fi 6 compact router that my hand is smaller than not only has Wi-Fi 6, it's got 2.5 GBE on board. Now, I may have splashed already there on screen, but you can pick this up for about 100 nicker at the moment. And the number of routers I have talked about here on the channel that have got Wi-Fi 6 and 2.5 GBE that dwarf the expense of this, and as their main standalone, this is a portable router that, again, for 100 nicker, 2.5 GBE, it's got a separate LAN as well. That's really impressive to me. There's also an additional USB port there. That USB apparently is for storage. I will be testing later on in the video about tethering with a mobile to see if we can, do internet pass-through there, but I doubt it. We've got the standard power button. You can also operate and action the VPNs that you assign to this. Not only does it have OpenWRT support built into that software, what it's built on, but there's also support of OpenVPN, but more importantly, WireGuard with support of up to 300 megabits of encrypted transfer with that particular VPN. Now, it's dual band. It's got 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz band. The 2.4 gigahertz, it's going to be useful for that light stuff. I don't know many people are going to be using 2.4G at a distance on a portable router, but again, it supports 5,704 megabits. But in terms of that 6 That's Wi-Fi 6 5 gigahertz band. It supports up to 2402 megabits. So that is where your AX3000 rating arrives on this. It doesn't have an active cooling fan there. Again, it's lovely and slick all the way through. There are plenty of ventilation and those operational buttons there on the side. It is very, very compact, and although I would have liked to have seen a version of this that either has a SIM slot, like a 5G SIM, or had an internal battery, that would have been great to see. It's not the end of the world. It's still, as far as folding it up, sticking it in your bag when you go traveling, that is tremendously light indeed. I'm sure at the beginning it detailed a lot of the information about the specifications and scale there, but even then I can tell you right now it weighs next to nothing. Now, on top of all of this, when we've got our 2.5 and 1 GBE connection in there, so again, you can utilize that 2.5 GBE as both a WAN or a LAN. So if you are setting up in a pre-existing internet environment there and you're worried about connecting into that environment, you know, you're worried about encrypted transfer there, you don't want to interface directly into another organization, but they've got greater than gigabit Ethernet. The good thing is you've got 2.5 GBE there, and then you can tunnel through your own encryption with this device, which is always going to be handy there. Again, it depends on the layering you're going to set up there and how you work in between this and a connected internet service that you're going to be utilizing. But still, this is better hardware than a lot of ISPs are rolling out at the moment. Not all, some of them are catching up. It's still pretty darn good for that. Now, in terms of the internal hardware, it runs on a dual-core ARM processor, unsurprising, and I have to look at my notes, the MT7981B, a dual-core 1.3 gigahertz processor there, managing the software inside. Again, there's a mobile app and desktop interface there. The fact that there's a desktop interface, from what I can see online, is lovely as far as I'm concerned. I was really worried this would be one of those devices that you can only access with a mobile app. I've seen this being accessed desktop-wise, which is a relief to me. Alongside that, it's got half a gig of DDR4 memory, which again is very, very, I'm not going to say it's loads of memory, but certainly for the sort of stature we're talking here, is very, very impressive for a little 2-port Wi-Fi 6 portable router. There's also a 256 meg cache there, and thanks to that support of OpenWrt, there's OpenWRT, there are lots of different packages and add-ons that you can scroll through that you can upgrade this with, so I will be taking a look at that later on. Again, even on the hardware stakes, the only things I can really fault it for, and I've already touched it there, is that lack of an internal power supply and the lack of SIM card support. Now again, we will be checking tethering support during the software testing in a moment, but if this supports at least USB tethering or a USB dongle, I am going to be chuffed to bits. But I think that is enough for the old waffle. I think a lot of you now just want to see what this device is capable of and just how good the software you're getting for 100 nicker of router actually is. Okay, and here we are on the desktop of my PC. We've set the device up, the Beryl there, 3000X, and we're accessing it here on my desktop PC via the web browser. So first and foremost, I love that I can access this via the desktop here. I know there's a mobile app, I know it can do all of this stuff, and I'm sure it's very user-friendly, but I'm an old school techie. I like being able to do it this way. Another thing you may already have noticed on screen is not only am I connected via an Ethernet connection there, I've also got tethering connected. My phone is connected to it. That is exactly what I wanted to hear. The device is currently being powered by a connection to my laptop right now. So again, it's just USB power powering the router and my phone supplying the internet. But that's not all. I've connected it into my local area network, and therefore now I've got both the WAN port and a USB tethering connection there as well. So straight away, that opens up another question which I'm sure a number of you are going to ask, and that is, what about failover? Does this device support failover? And I'm pleased to say, after a little look around the system, if I can find it where I found it earlier on, I'm pleased to say that this device definitely supports failover. So you've got the multi-WAN there, and if you're utilizing it via a standard internet connection via the cable in the wall, or you're repeating the existing Wi-Fi connection around you, which is possible, but will lower the connection speed there, or as I say, you're using the tethered internet connection there, you can have that lovely failover support, which again, dare I remind you, hundreds or so nicker for this router. I'm really impressed just by a few features there, like the Wi-Fi 6, the 2.5 GBE, and the support of tethering, 2.5G WAN, and having that wireless repeater there as well. So again, très bon, but cracking on. Here on the interface there at the top, we've got a nice little detail there of the individual connections there, whether you're using the guest account or the primary, the two bands there. I will say, for those of you that aren't too keen on the colour style there, you can change it to a few different versions there, and there are different languages as well. I'm going to stick with a white for now by default, but you can change that. Again, all of these, you can click on them and go straight towards them if you choose. Again, if you're going to use like a USB connected dongle there, you can immediately connect that into it there, as you can see. But there are lots of different connections you can opt for in this device, and all of them allowing you to upgrade the device to your own needs when you're on the go. On top of that, you've got obviously the AdGuard support we mentioned earlier on an OpenVPN. So if we carry on and sort of move forward, there's our standard internet connection. Of course, you're not going to be utilizing this device in the same way as me, but perhaps you're running that repeater setting there. For that one, you run the repeater, you'll scan your local area network for available Wi-Fi signals, and then you're going to be able to connect that to those, and therefore using it as a breaker point between those and others. So again, you can try the other networks, enter them manually, or scan the local area network if you choose. On top of that, if we carry on, we can go to the wireless configuration there. We can change a number of things. Obviously, we can change the standard connections of those Wi-Fi the wireless bands. So 5 GHz, 2.5, create a guest network or not, configure them, as well as increasing or decreasing a number of those security protocols. So it goes up to WPA3 again. Tick, that's good for me. You don't have to have security credentials, but you'd be a maniac if you ignored them. So again, moderately easygoing stuff, but it's the fact that it's included at this price point that I find really, really impressive. Then there's monitoring of connected devices. As you can see here, we've got a connection here via a mobile phone, and we've got the desktop device that I'm using here. You can choose to block that device if you choose moving forward via the admin panel that you're seeing here. You can modify some of that information if you choose there. Alternatively, you can add limiters to that device if you choose, so you can decrease its availability on the network in terms of bandwidth consumption. Whether there are automated priority of service POS or QoS, we'll have to double check that in a moment. In terms of the VPN stuff there, again, you can add those VPN supported services you may already have, or you can just go ahead straight away and set up your AdGuard your WireGuard connection very, very quickly if you choose. But again, all the way, if you've got those attached, you can attach them, you can activate them at the click of a button. Yes, you're going to have to enable those services and get them added on there, but it's the idea that once you've done that, you can just enable that and boom, you've now got AdGuard on there. Yes, it's going to decrease your transmission down to 300 megabits, but in terms of speed versus encrypted safe travel, that's pretty darn good there. I'm going to disable that for the rest of the video, but it's nice to have that option. And again, there's the support of OpenVPN as well, but the extent to which that's supported is debatable. Just double checking that we're still recording there. Yes, we are. Going back into those VPN settings, again, you can use the system as a VPN gateway or just general VPN access. And again, you can use different supported services there as well. Talking of supported services, I mentioned earlier in the video, plugins, OpenWRT, we can download lots of a bunch of other systems and services as well, and there are a heck of a lot. And for those of you that like to use some of the slightly more smart home related ones, or other encrypted transmissions, or even storage focused ones as well, a lot of them are available here. Yes, you're going to be utilizing that rather minor amount of flash storage, but at least you've got that 256 meg of flash storage for you to install these applications on. And do bear in mind again, if you're going to use a USB drive, you're going to connect yourself a USB drive for storage, then you may lose that option, because there's only one USB port there to have that failover Wi-Fi dongle or tethered mobile phone. It's a shame there's only one USB, but at this price point and what you're getting, I'm just pleased there's one on there, to be frank with you. And again, you can go through those plugins. They're very easy to source through, or you can add other directories as well if you choose, because there are some homebrew communities out there that you can play with. In terms of network credentials, you've got the standard firewall stuff. Again, much like a lot of routers, it's not going to make things particularly hand-holdy. Unfortunately, there's only a certain point to which you can make things on a router very user-friendly for the non-tech enthusiast without dabbling into the realm of making things unsafe unintentionally. But the configuration for opening ports and more is available there. We've already gone through multi-WAN and that failover there that I really, really liked. The WAN connectivity there, obviously we've only got the two, and you can choose via that primary list there whether you want to ensure that the 2.5 goes directly into a LAN, or you keep it as a WAN if you choose. But still, nonetheless, it's nice to have those configurations even on a micro portable travel router. I've seen premium routers about 2 years ago that didn't have some of these features delivered in this way, and particularly with a desktop interface to play with there. And again, all the usual stuff you would expect there, whether you want to utilize the router itself as an access point or not, these can all be configured very, very easily. If you want to disable the Wi-Fi, you can do that as well. And just remember, it can be connected to with a bunch of different users all simultaneously, and just lots of what I would expect to see in terms of hardware and software configurations and options open to me. Now, it's not all perfect. Straight away, I will say that I do think the admin panel on this is a little underwhelming. And again, I'm speaking only on behalf of someone who's a little bit more kind of net enthusiastic and, you know, network tinkery. There's not a lot I can do here. And even the reports and information I'm getting out of it is a little lackluster. Now, I get it. It is not designed to be prosumer. I get it. But with all of these other bells and whistles on there, it seems really strange to me that it doesn't have the option to produce reports or stuff like that. Nothing too crazy. I'm not asking for it to be emailed to me, but I can't really get much of a historical record in terms of a lot of the analytical stuff, particularly with the network connections as well. And for some users who are going to be running in groups, setting this up in a little team group session, you might want to have that kind of analytical data available to be pulled out of it, not just this available overview, what you see there on screen, which then instantly disappears from cache there. It's a very minor detail, incredibly minor in fact, but it's just something I noticed there. Now again, you can run schedules on a lot of those connections there. There's not too much, I would say, in the realm of parental controls on this as well. I think that's something that's a little less. And again, you can run the guest Wi-Fi and limit some of its connections to the broader network. You can't really create like VLANs or anything like that. But again, you've got 2 LAN ports. It's very small. You shouldn't really be expecting that. And that's really it. I mean, with the bulk of it, when you look at the button settings there, you can choose what you want that button to do, that side button. So that button, largely associated with manually turning on the VPN, is a nice touch. I quite like the idea that if I'm using it without the VPN, sorry, slowly losing my voice. If I was using this without the VPN on board, I like the idea that if at one moment I want to turn on the VPN and I've just got a bit suspicious, I'm in an area where I wasn't using it and I wanted to perform it, and all of a sudden I've got slightly wary about it, the idea that I don't have to log into the admin panel and do it, but I can literally lift this device up and just click that button on the side and activate my WireGuard VPN sounds really, really good to me. And I like that, just that little extra feature there that I've not really seen before. We're used to seeing WPS buttons on routers and stuff like that, or turning the wireless connectivity off. That's a nice little extra touch that I think specifically to those looking for a travel router will really, really appreciate. Now, I mentioned earlier on about the information to do with reports. This is as close as you can get. All of this is basically all of the logs of information and connectivity, and this is so much more the other way. And it's, if anything, it's a data blast. It's too much information to be getting on with, personally. I wish there was a middle ground there, and again, I still keep coming back to the idea that I would like to have network monitoring reports accessible to me on this interface. Again, I could go through the mobile app a lot more, but I know a lot of techies would prefer to be using the desktop interface to get more information out of it. At the bottom, we've got these advanced settings, and again, the advanced settings, as you can see, are ones where you start playing with that ground level OpenWRT stuff there. So you can, and as we can see here, you can open up and you've got to go in with the root password, which again is on the base of the device. But I personally would not recommend playing around with that really, because you are then kind of in a dangerous area where you could knacker the device and invalidate that 1-year warranty, which again, isn't a huge warranty, but it's still nice to know you've got that there. Switching over to the mobile application, we can see, hopefully you've got that there on screen, that it is a lot more graphical what we saw before, as one might expect from an application. Yes, I'm running this as an Android application, you can see there on screen, but this is how we can directly interface with that router, and pretty much all of the settings that we just saw are there. On the left hand side, if we're going to run with a larger cloud or mesh of devices, we can add them there to the side panel. There we've got information on our individual connections, whether we're we're using a tethering or not. On top of that, if we do want to use that failover, we can configure it on the fly. Pretty much everything we had before is accessible via this application if we choose to use it. Indeed, I like the fact that the repeater option is available as a one-click button there, and if we switch over to the wireless settings, we can change a lot of those guest network settings on the fly as well, very, very quickly indeed. All the kind of options I expected to see are there, and also, had we not disconnected this mobile phone, we would be able to see it on the tethering list there to show some of the options there. Again, we can install those plugins if we choose, but it's worth highlighting you can't really do much else. You can't install many of the plugins via this app because the majority of that needs to be conducted from that main interface there. But if we wanted to, we can enable that network storage where if we'd connected an external USB drive, it would appear there on that page. And again, that makes that storage accessible to all the other connected users, or you can choose how it's going to be using what file protocol. If you want to use any processes, any protection on their passwords and more can be enabled. Same goes, as mentioned, utilizing AdGuard to get rid of the ads on your local area network, which again, sodding invaluable, I think, for a lot of you out there, particularly when you're flying around on the go and you don't really want your IP tracked for one reason or another. I'll stop closing the app by accident. I should really look at the screen. Again, the system settings, we're still seeing that rather limited interface there in terms of system utilization, and I know I keep complaining about it not being analytical enough, but it's still pretty darn good from what I'm seeing there on screen. Again, finding out more about the LAN, WAN, and general information about the device is readily accessible, and in terms of changing that admin access, you can do there. It's all pretty much the same options, but it presented arguably in a more user-friendly manner. Personally, I still like that I can access both the desktop version and this mobile version simultaneously. But overall, let's summarize. To be frank, I really, really like this router. I think as far as a lot of the routers I've reviewed here on the channel, a lot of the time when we talk about travel routers and SIM routers, as good as a lot of those are, they end up running off a battery pack and therefore have to be a little bit more efficient about the hardware you get on board. This, on the other hand, seemingly has pretty much all of the killer app features I would want in a prosumer home router, barring a few analytical ones. And, of course, the parental control, possibly it's installable via one of those supported apps via OpenWRT database there, but overall, I really like what I'm seeing, and I think this does challenge a lot of SIM routers there, where we look at this and see Wi-Fi 6, yum. We're seeing that dual band connection, and again 2,400 megabits on that 5 gigahertz band. We're seeing USB power via the laptop there that I'm connected to, great for travel. And again, we've got 2.5 gigabit Ethernet there for more powerful connections locally. We've got another LAN when we need it, support of USB dongles and support of USB tethering with a mobile phone. We can utilize an existing internet connection via the WAN, or we can use a repeater to use existing internet connections as well. And all of that being supported on such a minor, light travel device for 100 nicker with a desktop and a mobile app. I find it very hard to fault this device at the level it is. So otherwise, I can't recommend this enough. It's probably one of the best routers I've reviewed on the channel. Yes, within the context of its scale, but still a great router nonetheless. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, let me know in the comments. We'll hopefully do a written review on this very, very soon. And when it's live, it should be linked below. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. If you've got any further questions or tests you'd like to see, let me know below. But other than that, have yourselves a great week.